VIX volatility. How fast does the VIX spike or drop?
Yes.
Let's do it. So due to heightened VIX levels, which we have right now, we've received many questions about its volatility speed. Will the current VIX ever come back down? Yes, it will.
Yes.
But when? Observations from tasty traders suggest that the VIX rises slower from lower values than higher ones. VVIX and the VIX show a strong correlation supporting the idea as shown in an OJ on February 26. This market measure will answer those questions in detail and analyze how the VIX behaves when spiking or dropping 5 points. That's a lot.
Yeah.
5 points. Where's the VIX right now? It's 2167. Pre-market, pretty much unchanged. I think it'll stay unchanged until the Fed comes out this afternoon. Let's go to the next slide. So 2167 is your point of reference right now. So this is the VIX, this is the SPX and the VIX over the past 5 months. And you can see the inverse relationship here.
So there is an inverse relationship. On the left-hand corner, I put the correlation. So it has the VIX and the VVIX have a 0.85 correlation, and obviously inverse correlation for SPX and VIX. So that's our first piece of evidence that as the VIX values go higher, the volatility increases, which means the speed of the VIX also increases. So, but we can't just base it only off of the correlation. We should put more numbers onto it. And I put the lowest point of the VIX this year, which was 14.77, and the highest point that we reached, the peak, which was 27.86 on March 10th. And that's kind of the period that we're looking in between. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gives you a range, about 13, 14 point range. I mean, width. So we're testing the VIX for 20 years from 2005 to 2025 and over 7, 15, and 30-day periods to focus on rapid spikes and drops rather than those years apart. Only spikes and drops of 5 points or more excluding smaller movements. So duplicate occurrences will also be removed. For example, if the VIX was 13.5 on one day and then 13.8 the next day, both spiking to 18, they'll be treated as one event.
Yeah, so this was one of the problems with the study was when you do the study, you have so many occurrences because of the VIXs very close together spiking to the same event. So we just treat it as one, basically. Yeah.
Let's go to the next slide, John. So this graph shows the total amount of VIX spikes and drops per year, eliminating all the additional ones, and along with the average VIX value of a 7-day cycle and the average VIX increases for that year, there are more large price moves. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is a graph basically for every single year. We're showing the ones that, the spikes that occur greater than or equal to 5 and the drops that occur greater than or equal to 5. That blue line is just the VIX, so you can compare. We're just showing over here that as the VIX goes up, you're going to have a lot more moves. For example, in 2008, 2020, 2022, right now, like, you know, these years where the VIX has generally been super high and you have a lot more moves. And the reason we're focusing on 5 points specifically is we wanted to make sure that we have enough of a jump. I think the question that one of the customers posed was like, what happens between, does 16 to 21 occur faster, or does 21 to 26 occur faster? So we're just taking 5 as that's a nice round number. So yeah, for anybody who's interested in knowing all the spikes for all the years, it's right on here, basically.
Beautiful. Let's go next slide, John.
So this is the first table that kind of answers the question. I try to make it look nice and easy to understand, basically. So you'll notice that when the VIX is more likely to spike when it's low and drop when it's high. That kind of answers our question so far. And the duration is much quicker when starting at higher VIX levels. So you'll have more drops as the VIX occurs, as the VIX goes higher, obviously, because when the VIX is lower, it only has room to spike. It doesn't really have room to drop. And for this 7-day cycle, the duration is going down in a pretty linear fashion as you increase.
Totally linear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by these results too. I thought there would be some sort of a difference or some non-linear relationship, but it's pretty striking, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised too. It looks like almost, well, it looks very clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go next slide.
So this is your 15-day cycle. The trend continues. An interesting thing about this is that you have a higher percentage of drops as you increase the cycle. In the market measure yesterday, you mentioned that when the VIX is low or when volatility is low, that's generally the most dangerous time because that precedes all the big VIX spikes and movements to the upside. And this also supports it because when you look at a very short-term, a short-dated cycle, you only really have spikes, but when you increase the cycle, you introduce more and more drops. We'll look on the next slide that the drops increase even more for that. So that just proves that when you look at a very short time period, the VIX spikes, and then when you look at longer time periods, then you have more drops. So that even proves that volatility is much more dangerous when it's at its lower levels. So just another way of looking at it.
That's a really well said.
And that's
we've been
unintended takeaway basically from this study that I didn't even really think would come out of this table, but it does. So
we've been validating that and hammering that home just day after day. Yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't look much different than the other slide, but makes the case. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and same with the 30-day cycle. Now, I have one question here for you, Tom.
Okay.
So I asked the research team yesterday about this, and some of them got it right, some of them got it wrong.
Oh, no. Okay.
Why, on all three of these slides, why is that 10 to 13 VIX on the drop side, why are they all 0% on the 7-day cycle, 15-day cycle, and 30-day cycle? That first percentage drop is all 0. So,
because I would assume the percent of drops greater than 5 points. I would assume it's just I mean, obviously it's an incredibly rare occurrence, but you're asking why. I don't know I'm trying to think what the reason would be.
It is a very rare occurrence, but the actual answer is that it's an impossible occurrence because the VIX has never dropped below like 8.5, and you're looking between 10 and 13. 13 minus 5 is 8.
Yeah,
so you literally cannot have it. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so easy. That's like a trick question.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I didn't even know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's just because that's because it can't go that low.
It cannot go that low.
Yeah. That's bad on my part. Okay, good. Let's go next slide.
So these are your table summaries for the 7, 15, and 30-day cycle. The average VIX for literally all of them was right around the 20 part. This is the average VIX for a 50% spike chance or a 50% drop chance. Your average duration is 5, 9, and 15 for the 3 cycles. And the most important part of this is that average duration as a percent of cycle. What we're trying to do is normalize the cycles because obviously there are different durations. So when the spike or the drop happens is also going to be different. But the important thing about this is that the number is trending towards 50% as we increase cycle duration. So what can we get out of this? We can get that when the VIX is around 20, there's a 50-50 chance of experiencing a spike or a drop. And below this value, obviously, it's going to more likely to experience a spike. Above, it's more likely to experience a drop. And as the cycle duration increases, the average duration as a percentage of the cycle reduces, and thus the VIX is expected to mean revert within 20 days or so. That's the big takeaway. So that 50% number, if you take 50% of our 45 DT standard stuff that we do, that's around 22-ish. So around 20 days or so, once it hits the highest or lowest point in its cycle, it's expected to mean revert. The problem, of course, is you don't know
right.
the highest or lowest.
But what you're saying on this is that we're basically at that 50-50 spot right now.
We are basically at this 50-50 spot right now.
Yeah.
So if everything goes perfectly,
we're right
statistically,
smack at the
whatever,
middle of that 50.
by April, it should be back to normal levels.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens with the market. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of get in the sense after the last 2 days, the volume drop off, that that's kind of what the market's sensing too. All right, let's go to the last slide.
And we should always obviously keep our durations longer so we have enough time to experience this 20 days period without it hurting our portfolio. Because if we keep enough time in our expiration cycles for it to go up and down.
Extend duration, roll forward.
Yeah.
As the average VIX increases for that year, there are more large price moves. Yes, the VIX does take longer to move the same point amount when starting from a lower VIX compared to a higher one. This pattern occurs when both the VIX spikes or drops. If the VIX is around 20, which it is right now, 21 and change, there's a 50-50 chance of it experiencing a spike or a drop. That's right where we are. The VIX is expected to mean revert within 20 days or so after a large point move in a 1-month cycle. Another reason why it's so important to keep duration longer for our trades. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we're right in that sweet spot. We're right in that 50-50 range right now.
I'm glad the question actually had an answer that was like